morning, everyone. It brings me great joy to welcome councillors back after a downtime that we've had. Wonderful to see everyone tanned, energetic, ready to go. I am going to ask Councillor Wharehinga to open with Karakia for us. Thank you.
Nō rena tātou, whānau mi noi tātou. E iu ngā mano tēnei te whakamuimi atu tu ki a koe mo tēnei ngā mātou. Arahina mai ki au ki te tika ki te ponu i a mātou, tukua mai tō wairua tapu hei manaaki, hei āwhi, hei tiaki hoki a mātou. Ane mātou e tū ohu nei mui e tuaroro, ka tuku i tēnei inoi, i runga i te ngō tō mātou kai whakaora i Ukraiti. Āmeni.
Āmeni. Thank you for that. And welcome. Welcome to our staff as well. Lovely to see everyone. We are going to jump straight into it. We do have a light agenda today. First of all, I have an apology from Councillor Ria. Councillor Tibble is zooming in, and we'll just thank you. Any declarations of interest in regards to our agenda today?
I'll declare an interest, possibly with the smoke-free agenda and also the alcohol policy being a stakeholder in the CBD.
What's your conflict with the smoke-free policy?
I might promote something that will be influenced by the CBD.
You just need to be more clear that I can understand what your conflict is.
Oh, well, the smoke-free one, I'm going to promote the CBD to be smoke-free. So I have an interest in the CBD, so I'm going to declare that before I promote what I'm going to promote.
Awesome, thank you for that. Now I understand what you're trying to say. Let us move to page 4. Thank you. Take a look at the minutes. As always, these minutes are sent out a few days after our Hui ID so that people can check for accuracy. Do I have a mover that these are the correct information on the day? Thank you, Councillor Telfer, seconded by Councillor Wharehinga. There are no other corrections. All in favour? Contrary? Carried. Thank you for that. Okay. We're just going to zoom past our governance work plan. So let's open the floor. We are moving to page 13, councillors. Thank you. Elise, are you going to come and talk to us? Yes. So welcome, Jocelyn. I'll hand over to you and Elise, and then we take it from there.
Morning tato, councillors and your worship. Really nice to see you all, and hope you've had those of you who have had a nice break have had a great one. So our first report seeks this committee's decision on whether to include vaping in the smoke-free outdoors area policy, with an amended policy provided for adoption. So there are a few options for this committee to consider, and I will pass on to our strategy team leader, Elise, to expand and to answer any questions. Great report from your team. Kia, who's also in the room, was our report offered today. Thank you very much.
So I'll take paper as read, but I'm happy to, sorry, I've just heard. So I'll take paper as read. The smoke-free policy to include vaping in the current policy, and it seeks the decision to expand smoke-free in the current outdoor policy area, vaping, and to response to the rising youth vaping in Tairāwhiti and aligns with the national smoke-free outdoor goal. No public consultation is legally required with this. However, staff recommend proactive public communications around this. If supported, the updated policy would from 31st of August 2025. So we'll take any questions in relation to that.
Okay. Councillor Gregory, and then Councillor Cranston, and then Councillor Thompson. We'll just go down there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the report. I've just got a couple of questions and a comment. The first question is that when we do bylaws here, I thought that, first of all, it came to us as a thing, do we want to change this bylaw? And then we said yes or no, and then the work was done. That's the first question, or doesn't it always happen like that? The second question is how much will it cost to update this policy? Do we need to update signs around the district, and how much would that cost? And I ask these two questions because while I agree that vaping is a terrible thing for our community, and I see the writing, I see it's getting worse. But I also see that since the adoption of the current policy, Tairāwhiti has continued to record the highest smoking rates in New Zealand. And so it makes me think, what's the point of that? And also I see the government, it's not enforceable is the other thing. And the last thing is that the government has an overriding policy for smoke-free and vaping, which would cover this situation. And lastly, I go a lot of places around the district, and I go to rugby at Waikirikiri. There's hundreds, possibly thousands of people there. There's nobody sitting on the sideline puffing vape into your face. I do look around, because it's very obvious, and I just think it's social pressure that fixes these things. And I just wonder if, as a council, this isn't a core thing that we're doing. It's a health problem, and I just worry that we're dipping into things that we shouldn't be.
Thank you for that.
So this is a policy, it's not a bylaw in relation to that. So in relation to the costs, it's very minimal. And primarily staff will be updating signage, and that's currently already being reviewed. So there are no additional enforcement costs that aren't already applied to this.
So the staff that, supplementary question.
Yep.
The staff that are updating the signage, what does that involve?
So that would involve, yes, we've been looking towards working with MOH in relation to that, and our other stakeholders who have free signage in relation to that as well, who can
Free signage.
free signage in relation to that, but also working with environmental team around implementation of that as well. That would come out of their operational budget.
Minimal cost. And most of the work's already been done.
Most of the work is already done.
Thank you.
And we're taking an educational approach with this.
Councillor Cranston.
Yeah, thanks for that. When we look around our smoke-free areas, it's obvious that the reason they are there is an adolescence focus at schools, skate parks, beaches, places where there's a very large proportion of adolescents there. So the problem we've got is the normalisation. If it's seen, it gets more accepted all the time. And if we're not sort of putting some restrictions around that, it's going to be very much normalised, and it's getting very normalised. The stats say 55% of students have experimented with vaping, but there's a huge consequence there. It was introduced as a smoking cessation sort of strategy, and it may be working for a considerable number of adults, but studies, overseas studies and very wide studies, it was in Tuesday's paper actually, have found that children, two assets to it. From long-term individual tracking, it has consistently been found that adolescents who vape are more likely to go on to smoke. So that's contrary to what we're trying to achieve here. So I'm very concerned with that. And a statement there saying vaping may have a role to play in quitting smoking, but that doesn't mean efforts to limit the access to young people who have never smoked should be dismissed. So I'm thinking of the rangatahi here. Adults will often do what adults will do, and we need to keep it out of the face of the adolescents and having them accepted. What was happening around the schools through this report was horrific. you know, the amount of vaping that's going on in schools, and it's on such a steep graph that if anything we can do about it has got to be taken into full consideration. So as far as signage goes, we've got smoke-free signage going up, and vaping to it. Simple as that to me, and vaping, you know. The unintended consequences of some things that happened, I mean, it was like the legal cannabis and that, it was all going to be honky-dory and it was all going to be harmless and all that. We're now finding that vaping, which was supposedly going to be smoke cessation and harmless and that, is now starting to show real impact. So I think if we've got any opportunity to restrict it or limit it, we should take it.
Thank you for that, Councillor Cranston. Thank you, Councillor Gregory. Next, Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thanks for the report. New Zealand's behind the 8 ball with this. Like overseas, vaping's not even an issue. You're not allowed to sell different flavoured vapes in Australia. You can't even buy a vape. You need a prescription from the doctors, and then you go to a chemist to get a vape. So yeah, we're sort of behind the 8 ball as it is in New Zealand. Yeah, I agree. We should add vaping to smoking. I'm just not sure whether we really need to change all the signage. We can just have an understanding that smoking includes vaping, and in terms of the health risks, it's something new, and like same with smoking. When smoking first came out, we didn't know all the health risks until years down the track. It's like anything, it's not till years down the track that you realise how bad something is. Definitely agree with this policy. I'm just not sure on the signage costs.
And Elise did mention that there might be some funding through Environmental Health and Ministry of Education, MOH, Ministry of Health, for that. Next I have Councillor Foster, then Councillor Wharehinga, then Councillor Parata.
Thank you. I'm happy to move this because I'm totally in favour of including vaping into our smoke-free policy, and I would like to move 1 and 2, but I'd also like to expand on 2 and include our CBD, because when you look through what other councils are doing, over 80% of them have got smoke-free CBDs, which include vaping, even Wairoa, our closest neighbour. So there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to expand our smoke-free and vape-free policy into our CBD and have signage accordingly. Because you walk through the CBD, there's a lot of people who are walking in the gutters, picking up cigarette butts, and it's not a good look. And if we can mitigate any of that behaviour, there would be certainly a nice, safer environment for our CBD.
I think the CBD is included.
No, it's not.
I'm just checking.
It's not in our. I haven't seen the CBD in any of the.
Just quickly checking to see if it's.
Well, it's not written in here as part of.
But not included, much.
Playground parks. beaches,
Playground
outdoors
parks.
Yeah.
So what is the process then for us to include, if councillors agree with Councillor Foster, can we include the CBD, or would that ask for consultation? Charlotte?
I guess given the nature of the policy, it is very much a position statement from council, like it's not enforceable and things like that. So in terms of triggering significance and requiring consultation, I think adding the CBD in probably wouldn't then trigger, but you may wish to, so it's hopefully, it was helpful.
Yeah,
So I hear what you're saying. So if we want to expand it, we are all aware that this, like Charlotte said, is a position statement. This is signalling to the community. And I remember when we had this discussion around smoking, we were having exactly the same. How do we tell people who's going to police it? The community self-police. Yeah. At the end of the day, people slowly stopped smoking in spaces where they used to, and now people just don't. So I do think we need to have realistic expectations that this is more a signal from council to the community what we value in our open spaces. and for our children, like Councillor. So just talk a little bit more about the CBD, because I'm also interested in knowing just a little bit more. So what you're saying, Charlotte, if we want to add it, we can, because it's just a position statement as such. Kapai? We'll test that later, Councillor.
Okay, thank you.
All good?
But I've moved that, so, and I move it with
1 and 2.
with number 1 and 2, and in 3 include the CBD.
Okay, we'll get there. Thank you for that. Okay, Councillor Wharehinga Parata Alder.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm happy to second what Councillor Foster has proposed here, to also include the CBD. This is a principal position, right? You know, and yes, we're going to have signage costs, and yes, it won't be enforceable and all of those kinds of things, but what would our community want us to make? What kind of statement would our community want us to make? And this is the statement that our community have actually asked the statement of local government, national government for a very long time because of some of the things that have been shared around this table. So I 100% support this paper. It sends the right signal to our community, and then collectively our community can speak to whether it's health or whether it's national government and say, hey, Gisborne District Council is of this position, we are too as a community, can you please change these things nationally? Because Councillor Thompson is right. We are behind the 8 ball as a nation, and we really need to get in front of that in order to be able to curb this epidemic that's out there, particularly amongst our rangatahi. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Okay, next, Councillor Parata. Thank you.
I feel like being the youngest sitting at this table, that I should bring the voice of youth to the table. And I understand why we're talking about this policy. I understand why we're talking about the position. I understand that when your prefrontal cortex develops, you realise what's good for you and what isn't. But rangatahi don't pick up smoking and vaping thinking about the health outcomes. They do it for independence, they do it for experience, they do it to have a secret of their own, they do it to socialise. I wonder, you know, when we make rules like this, all it does is doesn't stop them from doing it, it just pushes them out of the spotlight where we can see them. It makes them hide. They carry on doing it, and I know because there was a time where I was very young doing the same thing, and I got a teenager who has also experimented, much to my dismay, and I know that all parents of teenagers are experiencing the same thing, and when they have kids, they're going to experience it with something else. That's just how it goes. But I genuinely worry that making rules like this, positions like this, will only push them into the darkness where we can't see it, where we can't support it, where we can't look after it. And actually I support what Councillor Gregory had to say, is that this is a health issue. It is a central government issue, and they're already making changes. Like, you can't buy disposable vapes at the moment. Eventually you won't be able to buy them at all, hopefully. And that's where the biggest change will come. But personally, I think leave it as it is. People already interpret smoke-free zones as smoke-free, vape-free. People don't do it. At schools and parks, like there's more and more awareness about what is and isn't appropriate, and I just don't feel like we need to be extending spaces. I don't think we need to be explicitly saying no vaping. I feel like smoke-free is clear enough. The rules around smoke-free, or the position that council already has, that's plenty. And that central government need to make the laws that make the ultimate change. And we don't need to be doing that. So that's my position.
Thank you for that, Councillor Parata. Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm an ex-smoker, and I spent most of my life battling the addiction. I'd love all the money back now, with interest that I spent on it in my life. My conscience pricks me on this because when I ran, one of the questions we were asked was if we could change something, what would we do? And I said I'd change and stop addiction. These statistics are horrific. Since 2017, we've been leading New Zealand in totally the wrong, the worst statistic of all, and that we are leading the country in vaping. central government have let us down big time. Australia did some very good moves, I think, to try and curb the vaping move, but what's happening in this country at the moment is just a complete transfer from cigarettes to vape, and the companies that are peddling this addiction are rubbing their hands together. So I feel that we've left this thing late enough, and I think it's time we caught up. We need to move fast with as much force as possible, and nice to know that it's not going to cost us too much money to do it, but I think everything we can do to stop the spread of this horrible drug is the better.
Can I ask, do you also support Councillor Foster's for the CBD?
Absolutely.
Can you just put your hands up if you support the CBD for Councillor Foster? Okay, so that will be good. Thank you for that, Councillor. Is there anyone else who wants to speak that doesn't support it? Because I think most, you support it? You can go for gold. We've got a small meeting today, so if you want to make a short comment, please feel free.
Well, I feel a bit stuck between a rock and a hard place, because I come from a family of smokers and vapers, and I take Councillor Parata's position on that, but that's been a hereditary thing for my family. And looking at the data that's been provided, and I appreciate what the staff have done in their report, bringing all of that information. It's epidemic still, and it was in my mother's time and my grandmother's time. But I know smokers in the CBD, ones that enjoy a coffee and a break and go out there and they'll have a smoke, and they, if they come and pick up their butts. So it's tough. But I think the data, and thank you again for that data, leaves me with no other option but to support this. And whilst it is rife through my family, I can't expect a national level government to make any change if there's not a voice locally. And it is their responsibility. I believe this is a health issue, particularly for Māori. And they should be leading and taking that responsibility. But a local voice, even if it's small, coming from the Tairāwhiti, given their data, simply has to happen. So I'm supporting that, and also the amendments, adjustments, Councillor Foster.
I remember when we debated this for smoking and the signs to go up, and how times have changed. Way back, I remember when I was a little girl, my dad is a doctor, and in his surgery there was an ashtray. While he was writing notes and seeing patients, he would be smoking a pipe with cherry tobacco. But how times have changed. Imagine. And then it moved to when we were students, where you could still smoke in a tiny pub, and you would go home and more information has become available that it is not good for our health. And then the government did try introducing the vapes, but unfortunately now that has just replaced a lot of the smoking, and younger kids are doing it because there are all these fun smells. So it is something that I am proud for our council to say, we would like these spaces for everyone to enjoy. So let's send that message and make it a supportive message. I don't want it to be a shaming message. I want it to be a supportive message that it is a health issue, there is health available, and not shame people. So we've got a mover in Councillor Foster for number 1, 2 and 3, Charlotte.
I just wanted to confirm with the CBD area, just so we get it right in the policy, would you like us to use the same map that we've used to identify the CBD as the local alcohol policies?
Yes. Yes. Everyone happy with that? The same map that we had for the LAP is the area where most people move. Those 2-3 blocks is what we want. And again, this is not going to be policed or shoulder tapped. This is just a signal to the community.
Online.
Rhonda, Councillor Tibble, welcome. Please share your kōrero with us.
Tata, I just wanted to say that I wholly support the recommendations in this paper, to the end that this is high value but low touch. I think that's great. in regard to being able to make sure that we've got exclusions of where vaping can happen. I'm mindful of being in the Northern Hemisphere earlier this year to see that everybody just about smokes up there and it's everywhere. And I quite like the fact that smoking's not as prolific in our communities as it used to be. I think this is low touch but high value in so much as that it A, doesn't cost a lot, and B, there's not a lot of policing of it, but it becomes a normalised behaviour amongst the population that people think about where they can smoke and vape if they enjoy that activity. So to me, it's high value, low touch, and those who still want to enjoy vaping and smoking can do so in a way that best meets their needs without us having to tell people what to do. So I really like this paper. Kia ora tātou.
Thank you, Councillor Tibble. Okay, so I have a mover in Councillor Foster, a seconder in Councillor Wharehinga. All in favour? Aye. Contrary? Thank you. Okay, thank you, Elise. Now we're going, this should take exactly 25 seconds. And by the time you get here, I might be sending you back. So we are going to page 49, councillors, and this is just a tidying up paper. So Makarand or Jocelyn, do you want to say something just to open it?
Thank you, through your worship. Thank you, councillors. We brought this paper today to really to note the adoption of the recent amendment to the local alcohol policy, as well as just to finalise the remaining step required to bring it formally into effect. So I will pass on to our intermediate policy advisor, Makaran, who's done a really great job in this space. Can answer any questions, and thank you for preparing a great report and for all the work you've done.
Thank you, Makarand.
Yeah, through your worship, I think the paper is read. This report seeks a decision to formally bring the amendments to the local alcohol policy into legal effect. While the council did go ahead and adopt an amended policy on the 8th of May, procedural step under the Sale and Supply of Alcohol Act remains outstanding. The resolutions in this paper, as endorsed, will complete the statutory process and enable the amended policy to take effect from 1st of August, which is tomorrow.
Thank you. Councillor Wharehinga.
It's procedural, I move this. You know, we did all of the heavy lifting before.
Seconded by Councillor Gregory. Any questions or queries? All in favour? Aye. Carried. Thank you, Makarana. It was longer than 25 seconds. Okay, Tere Moana, are you ready for... Get your popcorn and Coke ready, councillors. Yes. So we're going to watch, do you want to do your speech first before the video?
No.
Okay, so we are now moving to page 61, our last paper, but there is a 9-minute video. They send it in, so they came to see Nadine and I a while back to hand over the stuff that you have. This is part of this paper, councillors. So instead of them doing a public deputation today and talking to us about it, they send in a 9-minute video. So sit back and relax.
Created here, which we're presenting today, is a bit of a taste of the experience, I think, that the Citizens Assembly members went through, both visionary and grounded in our own lived realities as community members in Tairāwhiti. The document produced by the community, I hope that you'll find it valuable and that it informs your decisions, supports the mahi and connects you, not just as council, but as fellow citizens of this region as well. I want to give a special thanks to Kerry and Nadine. They gave really generously of their time, answered questions and engaged with the process on a personal level. Also to the Wainake Transformation Project, the kōrero that we're able to experience there, helped ground the thinking and the real challenges and the real land use decisions that the region faced. A big mihi to Complex Conversations, koitu. So thanks to you guys for walking alongside us, for giving us the space to co-develop the process, to make changes and adapt it as we saw was fit for our community. so that we could be responsive and more grounded and community-led, essentially. So it wasn't a one-size-fits-all model. It was definitely shaped by the values and the realities of the people of Tairāwhiti. So.
Te Tairāwhiti Citizens Assembly was never going to be an easy process. Asking a group of everyday Tairāwhiti people to come together and kōrero about land use, something that affects all of us in different ways, was always going to be complex. And yet, from the first hui to the final call, our Assembly members showed up with heart and a shared commitment to speak with a strong, united voice for our region. Everyone showed up grounded in aroha, curiosity, and a shared belief that something better is possible. What emerged was a collective vision, a vision for a region where our relationship with the land is not extractive but reciprocal, where decisions are not made from afar but grounded in place, where the well-being of whenua and whānau are inseparable. We're sharing that vision with you today through our calls to action. These are a direct response of what the people of Tairāwhiti have seen, felt and lived, and they're grounded in values that we believe this council and everyone in a position of leadership must now carry forward. Te mana o te Tairāwhiti, te tiriti o Waitangi me ngā tikanga, te whakakanohi i te hapori, te mahi tahi, and te whakawhitiwhiti kōrero me te haipapa. We're calling for a return to balance, a reweaving of the relationship between people and place, one that nourishes all who call Tairāwhiti home, for past, for present, and for those yet to come. We're not asking to return to what was, we're inviting you to help build what can be. Ngā mihi.
Thank you for letting us come here into this space to deliver something that is really important to us. And I just want to say I'm proud of my peers. Ea kuhua, there was a lot going on in this time. And just to further Dana's kōrero, it wasn't easy. We sat in a space that challenged belief systems, and robust discussion was needed, and I think at the end of the day it was enjoyed because we arrived at a point where we could create something that we felt proud of and that we believed in. And I think about Tairāwhiti being the first place to see the sun. And this model of decision making, I'm almost in a state of I couldn't be more proud to be in a place that rises with the sun, and maybe we might model something that looks like true fairness and inclusivity with the kaupapa that we've got here today.
To be a representative tangata tiriti, of whom there were many, and with tangata whenua we all work together, united, in seeking long-term solutions for te mana o Tairāwhiti, to be restored via recloaking Papatūānuku. Ka ora te whenua, ka ora te tangata. We agreed this to be our overriding guiding principle of the tikanga required for the future of our land. We understand that if the land is well, then the people will thrive.
I want to thank you for this. I had a quick skim, and everything in there makes absolute sense. I agree our balance is out of whack. It's been out of whack for quite some time. But it is the let us lead, let us heal, let us regenerate, let us decide, let us shape the future. It is a challenge to us, it's a challenge to the government as well, which we have been trying to work closely with, but change will only come from within. We will always have either a Green or a Labour or Te Pāti Māori or National or ACT or whoever bringing their influence and their worldview, and rightly so, you know, everyone have their own view, but I feel like we know our place. Some of us were born here, some of us came later, but I think we all sign up that we want to leave a place for our mokopuna which is better than what we found, and a place and decisions which we make now which don't come and bite us in the butt 30 years later when we thought we were making good decisions and we weren't, because we weren't giving it that holistic view, the Mataranga Māori, working together with Western views as well. So from me, thank you for this. This is leading in this country. Local Government New Zealand have several times asked us about our deliberative democracy, and they will be very interested in this as well. So congratulations for leading the way. It won't be the last time we do this, because another thing I do know is that our community feel disconnected. Our community are tired with consultation. They're irritated by consultation. They feel local government, whoever, always asks stuff of them and they don't really see themselves reflected in it. So we can keep on doing what we're doing and we will tick boxes, but we won't see change. And it might take time, but over time, if we don't bring the community in to make those decisions on the ground, we will see a more and more disconnected community because they just do not see themselves in the decisions anymore. I found it moving today, and I'm sure Council will as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much for this and for the delivery. It's been really humbling, and it's just been awesome to see it kind of where it's landed. And I reflect back to the origins of this around, actually Council was we're looking for different ways to engage our community and to have real authentic conversations so that we could, bring better decisions or help the Mayor and councillors make really good decisions on behalf of the community, with the community voice at the centre. It is a challenge, and these are great areas in terms of letting us lead, letting us heal, let us regenerate, let us decide and let us shape the future. So I see what you're asking of us. We will respond to this formally. I think it was just such a beautiful occasion, and I really do think that it'll be great for the elected members to also get a feel for this. So thank you all for your awesome mahi in this space. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora. Thank you.
From idea to...
The show has stopped. Thank you. Jocelyn, I'll hand over to you. So councillors, we're on page 61.
Through your worship, thank you, and really great introductory video, which really speaks for itself. So as further to what Nadine says, that Nadine said in the video, this paper, although a noting paper to this committee, in relation to the calls to action issued by the Tairāwhiti Citizens Assembly. It firstly acknowledges the Assembly for their time, their leadership, aroha, and dedication in this process to delivering the calls to action. It also notes the current actions currently in progress under Council's work streams, which align with those calls to action, and as well as notes that the Council will continue to prioritise the kaupapa set out in the calls to action through the development of the next long-term plan. So the paper does provide a really high-level summary of several of our key work plans, where there is some alignment with those calls to action, and staff have identified some initial key feature actions with the potential to deliver across multiple calls, such as with the regional biodiversity strategy and the continued catchment-based work with our communities. So we've also included in the paper a few next steps with regards to some milestones, particularly as we progress into the long-term planning. So I'm happy to take any questions and certainly lean on the amazing team that's here as well if we need further discussion. So thank you. It was a great joy to read this paper. And shout out to Paula, our senior policy planner.
Awesome. Councillors. This is a noting paper, just to note what was being done. I'm glad we saw the video, because that captured the presentation on the day, and also the wide variety of people that brought the different worldviews, and not everyone spoke in the video, but it was definitely a beautiful cross-section of who we are. And it's true what I said in that video, and I want to say it again. We need to change, this whole nation need to change how we talk to our people, how we consult. People are tired, they are over-consulted, and then when they do reach in, or they don't see their voices reflected in decisions. So we need to start thinking, how do we get those community voices to reflect in decisions we made? So this is the start of it. It's not perfect by any means, but it is leading the country. So I'm incredibly proud that we could run this, and there was good feedback from. So I'm happy to move this paper.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Wharehinga. You want to make a comment?
Yes, a comment. I'm just on the recommendations, point 2. The council's intent to deliver on the actions within the council's functions. Can you explain that a little more for us? Another question.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Through your worship, thank you, Councillor Alder. That point really speaks to, as you know, there were 34 calls to action, and in those various kaupapa, some of those don't sit within the function of council. So that's what that point was leading to, is that you know, our intention is to deliver on those actions that sit within the function in our responsibilities.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this intentional democracy is and sounds a very efficient way to go, and on looking in, it looks great. I believe Ireland is embracing it, and it's working well there. But I just have a little bit of caution in that as a form of consultation, its integrity is dependent on the neutrality of the facilitators. And there is a risk that a view could dominate within that intentional democracy process. And I'm just thinking back to Bowler, and the knee-jerk reaction after Bowler was to plant pine trees. And it came from one central source, one central direction, and that was the government incentivising the planting. And at that time, people were ringing alarm bells and saying, this is wrong, we shouldn't be doing it. And we need to be careful that we're not going to do the same thing again here and go down a path that may, 20, 30 years out.
I think this is the beauty about this, though, is that what you just mentioned was like coming from one area. You have so many plugs of people from different walks of lives to bring those different and confronting views that I do think it will quash what you just said.
I hope so, yeah.
But I agree, it needs to be well structured, and it needs to be neutral. Neutral and based on information. Thank you for that. Councillor Gregory.
Thank you. I just, looking at this, like, I love this. No one could disagree with those calls to action. Sounds great. I just wonder if, I've had a look at other deliberative democracy assemblies, and because I really like the idea, and it seems a great way to consult. And I noticed, though, that in some of the other examples where they have been completed, they've also offered a financial pathway to achieve what, because I mean, this is great, but it isn't going to be free. And I just wonder if that maybe wasn't in their list of things to think about. But I feel that's missing from this document as to how we would go forward.
That will be noted. If you think how much money we spend on consultation, you know, it needs to be smarter money, smarter spend. But I think that's still an unknown, Councillor Gregory, what you highlighted.
Yeah. This rather than
yeah. Thank you for that.
Worship. Thank you, Councillor Gregory, really great point you made. And also opportunity here is that as we start developing and having those initial discussions around long-term planning or setting those budgets, we can have those conversations. Thank you.
Councillor Foster, did you want to say something?
Just a quick thing. Yeah, I mean, I totally can support the concept. We've got to be as inclusive as we can with our community, and this Citizens Assembly is a great example of people from different walks of life coming together to make some calls. But my question is, they want us to provide a statement of intent to acknowledge and engage with and act on the calls to action. Any indication when that might be? We would do a statement of intent.
Thank you, Councillor Foster. It's a really great question and something for this committee to deliberate on. It's probably in the next steps, and whether it's in this with this council or actually a little bit further down the road, it's certainly something that we could.
So we'd be looking at the new council to do this, to be informed with a statement of intent. That it would take, say 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah. So, and that's, I mean, in theory, something we can discuss at this table as well, because we do have another council meeting coming up, but it might, at this stage, possibly might be looking at into the new council, unless, yeah.
Because the call to action is quite rapid.
Yeah. But I do think, though, Councillor Foster, and you know from history, most things that will require funding going into new 10-year plans or other plans, at this stage, the council would say, let's leave it to the next group of people to make that decision. So I think that's a fair comment.
So that would be, they would be informed accordingly, I take it, with that decision. That would be the new council that would be doing, so they would know that there is going to be a slight delay, not within their time frame that they're promoting.
Yeah. So the original time frame. So this was delivered on the 25th of May, which meant that in terms of the response, we're sort of sitting within those time frames. But I guess a really good point to put in here. There is the possible capability of publishing a high-level public statement, and that's if this committee wishes for that to happen.
Well, yeah, I just think that there's calls to action, and there's some priorities on it, and timing issues as well. So I wouldn't like us to sit back and wait for a new council to come in before we make some response of some sort to this call to action. I think we need to be making a call to action sooner than later, because it is of priority, I would imagine. Right, it is.
But isn't what we do today that high level?
Yeah, so it's a response, but we can follow that up with similar structure to what we've done in our report in the statement of intent.
Great. Anything else, councillors? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, just about the time frame, it's got April 25 on this, so it's already 3 months down the track already.
It was presented 25th of May, a month later to council, so that was probably. Yeah. Papai? Paula? Councillor Tairāwhiti.
I just am wary that we're going to be very, very careful of what we commit to, because some of the ultimate stuff in the ultimate world, how we'd like it to be, is so expensive that we can't afford to do that as a council. So I just want it to be taken in a way that this is a group that have come with some really good ideas, but we've got to be very, very careful that we don't go and commit to something that we can't deliver on. And there's a lot of other groups as well that are working on this with TAG and et cetera, and other things. We've got to be able to work it in a way that we can deliver it in a way that is still economic for industry to be able to co-fund a lot of this stuff. And if we go down a path where to reduplicate what we've done at the waterworks, duplicate that across the whole area, we just can't afford it. I'm sorry. If you look at the per hectare rate, the government can't afford it. We've got to be able to do this in conjunction with forestry farming and it's got to be in a way that we can actually economically still survive. So I just want that noted really.
Thank you for that. Anything else? If not, I moved it. Councillor Wharehinga seconded. All in favour? Aye. Carried. We're going to break for a quick cuppa. I can close the meeting. Yes.